Hey guys, it's Ian from McBride Outdoors. Thank you so much for stopping by to check out this video. I wanted to put this video together to share with you some information that I have learned recently that could have had a tremendous impact on me negatively as far as my ability to continue to enjoy the outdoors as much as I do. And I thought I would share it with you because it's important for all of us to know that this sort of thing is out there. Whether you hunt or whether you fish or whether you camp or whatever it is, it's imperative that we pay attention to this because once again, it could have a significant impact in a negative sense in terms of how we enjoy the outdoors going forward. So I wanted to share this with you. It stretches out over quite a period of time, so I'm going to paint a little bit of a timeline for you and then let you know exactly what I'm talking about here. And first and foremost, this is something that we all need to be aware of. Share it with your friends, share it with your loved ones. It's for real. It is definitely serious. And it started for me back in June of 2020. So to sort of paint this picture out a little bit, I've got a place over on Tillman Island on the eastern shore of Maryland. I keep my 25-foot sea hunt over there. We do a ton of fishing and hunting over there. Most of what we fish for in the Chesapeake Bay, of course, are the Spanish mackerel, the striped bass, which is what we all target. But there's lots of other fish that we get in there. You know, the redfish, the big black drum, the cobia do move into there periodically. And, you know, so this started for me back in June of 2020. I was fishing with my father and my son out on the water, having a wonderful day. The weather was fantastic. The striped bass bite was phenomenal. The birds were breaking everywhere. The baits were getting bigger. It was no longer the little glass minnows and the bay anchovies, but it was the bigger stuff. The menhaden were moving in. And the big rockfish were certainly feeding on those. So we're just having an absolute wonderful time. And as it's going crazy for my dad up in the front of the boat, it's going crazy for my son in the back of the boat, it's going crazy for me, I neglected to do one thing that I am normally pretty vigilant about, but I did neglect it because, you know, things are just happening so fast, and we've all been there where it's just happening so fast, you don't really know what's going on. And I went to dehook an undersized rockfish. I wanted to take it off the jig. And I went to grab it, and as I was grabbing it, I was looking up to see my father, who had a nice fish on also. And as I reached out to grab this rockfish, one of the rockfish fins on the dorsal fin poked my finger. And we've all had that happen, right? I mean, every time, you know, you go to grab a fish, you take it off the hook, you know, sometimes it happens. It might be a gill plate, it could be a fin, a pectoral fin, a dorsal fin, whatever it is. This particular fish fin poke was a little bit more significant than I've ever experienced, and I remember thinking, wow, that really hurt. So the day went on, we caught a bunch of fish, you know, the day wrapped up great. We took our keepers back home, we were cleaning them on the docks there, and then later that evening, my middle finger, where the fish fin pierced my finger, began to get a little bit tight, and it was a little bit swollen around the puncture wound, which wasn't uncommon. Again, this sort of thing has happened to me countless times as I spend, you know, as much time as I do in the outdoors. But over the progressing, you know, weeks, this was in late June, I guess, all of July, the beginning of August, I remember looking down at my hand thinking something is just not right here. So of course I called my doctor and I went and explained to my doctor what had happened. And he thought it was interesting and he gave me a prescription for some antibiotics, a 10-day, pretty hefty antibiotic cycle. So I took this antibiotic for 10 days. At the end of that 10 days, I called him back and I said, Doc, you know, there's still something going on here. My fingers are still swollen. They're getting tighter. You know, I'm losing a little bit of grip in my hand. So he sent me to another doctor who, you know, I made an appointment with that doc a couple weeks later. I went to see him. He took a look at it and thought the same thing, but he tried a different approach. Gave me a different antibiotic cycle. Once again, 10 days, pretty heavy dose of antibiotics. So I took that for 10 days. And nothing happened. It still progressively got worse. It started in my middle finger, it moved down into my palm, and then moved up into my pinky. And now we're into about September, I guess. And this pain is getting just gradually worse. It's not overbearing, it's not overwhelming, but I can tell that it is getting worse as time continues to progress. So I went back to my primary care doc. I got a steroid injection in the hand and all that stuff. That made it feel better for a little while. But it didn't take care of the problem, and the problem continued to get slowly and progressively worse. Finally, around about November, I guess, I went back to the doctor and I was like, Doc, we've got to do something different here. So he referred me to a hand surgeon at Union Memorial here in the state of Maryland, which is a very well-known place for hand surgeries. I went to see that doctor. I think I finally got in front of him sometime in late December because his schedule was so busy. And he took one look at it and said, you know what, we got to go in there and we got to get this. I know what it is. It is a slow-growing parasitic microorganism that was on the fish's fin when it pierced my skin, and apparently that fin went in deep enough where it poked my tendon in my middle finger, which is why it hurt so bad that day and for every day thereafter. So I went to get this surgery done on my hand a couple of weeks ago. Excuse me. And I just got the bandage off today, and I want to share with you my experience with this because, as I was thinking about it, and I talked to some people on the Eastern Shore, some local crabbers, some oystermen, some commercial fishermen, and they told me, they said, listen, that is no joke. That infection is crazy. It can take over your entire hand. They all know people who have lost fingers because of this infection. They've all known people who have lost hands. And unfortunately, one waterman over there actually lost his life because of this infection. So it turned out, again, it was a slow-growing parasitic infection that oral antibiotics could not, it was defenseless, basically, against the infection. And the reason being, and I found this kind of interesting also, again, I had 2 different cycles of very heavy antibiotics taken by mouth. And apparently that has little to no impact on this particular infection for 2 reasons. Number one, it's sort of, I guess, immune to that type of antibiotic. But more importantly, the infection itself was inside the tendon in my hand and inside the sleeves through which the tendon travels as we use the full range of motion in our hand. So because there's no actual blood flow into a tendon per se, the oral antibiotics that I was taking had no impact on the infection, which is why it continued to get progressively worse. So anyway, I finally had this, I got this big bulb, gross looking thing on the palm of my hand, and that's when the doctor decided we've got to go in there, and within a week I was on the operating table getting put to sleep, full anesthetic or anesthesia, and they did a surgery on my hand. So I had about a 10-day recovery period, and I just got the bandage off today, but I wanted to show you all what something as small as a fish fin prick of the hand could turn into. What I'm about to show you is the hand itself. After the bandage came off, it is a little bit, if you've got a queasy stomach, you may want to look away for now. I'm only going to have it up for just a couple of seconds, but I want to show you what something as simple as a little fish fin can turn into. And actually, I'm a lucky one in the sense that this hopefully will be it. And it's not going to have any sort of significant impact long-term to the use of my hand, to my ability to enjoy the outdoors, to turn a fishing reel, to hold a shotgun, to hold a rifle, all of the things that I truly am passionate about. So here it comes. I'm going to show you the hand itself and the scar. So again, if you're a little bit queasy about this, you may want to turn away here, but here it comes. That is the surgery that I had on my hand, and you can see that they had to make an incision the whole way down my hand, up into each one of the fingers that were being infected, and they cut that hand open and cleaned out all the infection and cleaned up the tendons, and hopefully now, I do have full range of motion on this hand for now. It's still a little bit stiff and a little bit sore, but hopefully in time that will continue to get better. The whole reason I'm sharing this with you out there today is a couple things. If you can just be a little bit more diligent when you're taking a fish off the hook, it doesn't matter whether you're fishing in the mid-Atlantic, up in the Northeast, in a lake or a river somewhere, down south in Florida. I spend a lot of time down there also. Check out the channel for future videos on that one. But I wanted to make sure that we were all aware of this as sportsmen and fishermen and hunters, because there are parasites and there are bacteria on just about everything that we enjoy the pursuit of. Again, whether it's fish or whether it's an animal, a game animal in the field, or whether it's something as simple as just, cutting your hand when you're setting up a tent, when you're camping, it could have a significant impact on your ability to continue to enjoy those outdoors long term. So I'm sharing this with you guys so that you can spread the word, share it with a friend of yours, or somebody that you enjoy fishing or hunting with. But we all have to be a little bit more careful about, number one, being careful when we're out there, because you never know what something as small as a finfish prick can turn into. And number two, once again, there are parasites and bacteria all over everything that we enjoy to pursue. So share this with your friends, share this with your fishing buddies, your hunting buddies. Like it in the video if you learned something here. If you have any questions about either the surgery or the treatment plan, or how long it's going to take to get better, I'm happy to answer those. But again, like the video, share it with your friends. It's important that as we all continue to enjoy the outdoors, that we are aware that these things are out there. And they could, once again, I mean, some folks have lost their fingers, they've lost their hands, and one person actually died from it. So anyway, I'm Ian again with McBride Outdoors. Thanks again for watching the video, and get out there and feed your passion.